So I was saying that during the course of our life, we may not accept that there is someone called God. But it is difficult to not accept that there is something like Maya or something like what in other traditions called the devil or shaitan. It's something which makes us act against our own best interests. We all have this experience of some self-destructive force inside us. In one sense, if we consider how we grow in our life, let's recite this verse. Nadatte kasyachit papam. So, nadatte. Adatte means to accept. Papam. That God does not cause us to do wrong. Na kasyachit papam. Na jaiva sukrutam vibhu. That Vibhu, that supreme being, and that supreme being does not cause us to do bad, nor does the supreme being claim credit for when we do good things. Since God is different from us, and then what is it that makes us? If God does not impel our misdeeds, or God does not seek credit for our good deeds, then what is it that impels us? So it is described. Ajnanen avritam jnanam. Tena, by that, muhyanti. Muhyanti is deluded, is confused. Jantavaha. Jantavaha is the living being. So, ajnanenavritam jnanam. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. So, let's recite it once together now. Nadatte kasyachit papam sukritam vibhu ajnanenavritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. So the idea here is that whenever we are functioning in life, at that time, there is an evolution in our understanding, how our understanding grows. So who is in charge? Who is controlling? Who is in control? Initially, I may think that the self, I am in control. Then we may start thinking that there is some inimical means hostile being that is in control. Inimical force, inimical power. Nowadays people say that, I have my demons. People say that if they do something terrible. And Mike Tyson was a big boxer to win most of the fights. But as he started getting older or unstable, when he started losing matches. So when he was losing one particular match, he got so angry that his anger, he couldn't punch his opponent, so he bit off the ear of his opponent. And then he was disqualified. And then he said, I got inner demons inside me. They just make me act ways that I just don't understand. So we start thinking that, is there some terrible being that is controlling me? That is making me act in such ways that I don't want. When I was a teenager, since my early teens, I had a bit of a temper. So I had a bad temper, and that was a problem. But I had a bigger problem because I had a bad temper and a good vocabulary. It's generally most people, when they get angry, they just stutter and sputter in rage, or they just raise their volume, but what they speak does not make much sense. And then just this person has gone on a mental trip. You can just dismiss them. But somebody has a good vocabulary, then they can be so sarcastic and biting. When they're angry, they can cause wounds that can last a lifetime. So I recognized I had to get a handle on my anger. And this anger could lead me to some deadly situations. I was hurting my friends, I was ruining my relationships. So I felt that there is some inimical force over there. So when I read the Bhagavad Gita third chapter, for example, "Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha," what impels one to some wrong actions? It struck me very powerfully. So we may or may not accept the existence of God, but we cannot deny the existence that there is some higher power. Hmm? That there is something which seems to work against me. So there's an inimical force that is in charge. Now, of course, that inimical force is not constantly in charge. And that sometimes we also do good things. Sometimes we also act in sane ways. Insane, not insane ways. Sometimes, so we act in sane ways, and here we act in insane ways. So now, even if say 95% we are acting like this, and only 5% we are acting like this. But what happens is 5% can be more damaging than the 95% when we are acting in sane ways. Because if that happens in critical moments, then it can be devastating. So now, if we go further, so at this stage, there are two possibilities. One is that we may start thinking that inimical force itself is God. That like God is acting from inside me to God wants to hurt me, God wants to destroy me. In the Greco-Roman tradition, there was a saying that those whom the gods want to destroy, them the gods make angry. Like if you make somebody angry, that person will do things that will hurt them, that will hurt others. Everybody needs friends and allies. If a king becomes angry and lashes out against their their supporters, then what is going to happen is that people will stop supporting him. Alexander was a powerful conqueror, but Alexander was also an alcoholic. He used to drink, and he had one of his very trusted generals who was fairly sober person. And that friend saw that he was a friend also. He saw that he's drinking too much, and he tried to tell him to stop. And Alexander got so angry at one time, he took off his sword and lopped off his head. And afterwards, he terribly regretted what I do to my friend. But then after that, he could not command the loyalty of his followers the way he was commanding before. They still followed him because of fear. But if you feel that your king is not in control of himself, then how can you? We may follow him because we are afraid of him. But fear is different from respect. So what happens is that there is this inimical force which can ruin us. So we may that at a few percentage of time when that inimical force acts against us, that can be devastating. So now this is one understanding. But then if we move further, then we start understanding that actually this inimical force is not God. There is a being who is greater than this inimical force. And that is actually favorable to me. That is a force that is wants to pacify me, purify me. So that is, you can say, a purifying divinity. God doesn't just exist up there to uh, to okay. So can all of you move over here a little bit? Are you able to see from here? So this is you consider this is a sip of wisdom. Now, sip means we drink something, we take a sip. So what is the sip? The first is I think I'm in control. But after I think I'm in control, after some time we realize, if I think I'm in control, then somebody has to be in control of me. Isn't it? Because because we are not in control. And maybe there's some inimical force against me that is in control, and then some force that can actually free me from this inimical force, that can purify me, that is in control, and this is God. So broadly speaking, for us, we may turn to God in two different ways. Now, when does a human being feel a need for God? It is, generally speaking, say, when we are going through life, we have our desires, our goals, and we go through life. And God is up there, but we don't really feel the need for God. Now, we may feel the need for God in two situations. One is if there is some huge obstacle, there is an external obstacle, and we feel I can't overcome this. Okay, I've got this particular health, this particular financial problem. No matter what I do, I'm just not able to earn money. Or this person, this boss is troubling me so much. And I don't know what to do about it. I've tried everything. So basically, when there's an overpowering external obstacle, that is one reason why we may turn towards God. Now, the other is that when we feel that there is something inside me that is dragging me down, there is an internal destroyer, that there is something inside me which is sabotaging me and which is simply making me work against myself. And say, for example, there are forums called for people who want to get rid of addiction. Alcoholics Anonymous is a well-known forum. They have many anonymous people. You know that they have AA, they have FA also. FA is what? Foodaholics Anonymous. Foodaholics means people who have a very unhealthy relationship with food. So one extreme is, of course, common people eat too much. But other extreme is they eat too less. So if somebody has anorexia or something like that. So now, at such they have 12 steps of how to get rid of the addiction. And the first is that my life is not in my control. That there is something which has possessed me. I cannot fight it on my own. And so, like from here, the self is in control. No, there is some inimical force that has taken control of. And then they say, therefore, I need to entrust my life to God. That there is a God as I may conceive. Different people may conceive God different, but there is some being which is favorable to me, which works, which wants my good. And I need to entrust myself to that being. So now, when there are external obstacles and we turn towards God, quite often this is very utilitarian. This is very temporary. The obstacle goes away, and then what happens? Thank you, God. Bye bye. It becomes like that. We don't feel the need. But when there is an internal destroyer, and I realize there's something inside me, then that is the time when our need for God becomes much more pressing. We start realizing that actually, without God, even if external problems come, I can deal with them, but internally I am hijacked. Internally I am sabotaged. Then I'll be destroyed. And this internal, sometimes we feel I become free from it now. But even when we feel like we become free from, somebody may have an anger issue, somebody may have a alcoholism issue, whatever issue, I become free from it. But we may think I am free, but when we feel free, it could be two things. It could be that that particular thing has been eliminated. Elimination has happened, or it could be simply in dormancy. Now, it's quite likely that that particular thing which I thought I had become free from, sometimes it just comes back again. Thought I had got rid of this particular desire, this particular tendency, this particular habit, but it comes back. So it's always safer to assume that I'm not yet completely free from this. Even if I feel free, that's just because that has become dormant. Hmm? And it is good that it is dormant right now. Maybe it will stay dormant and it will die also that way. But it may wake up also. So when we feel the need for God, because there is something inside me, my Lord, which will destroy me. And therefore, I need you to protect me from that thing. This takes us with a much more urgency and fervency and sincerity, earnestness toward Krishna. Toward, so in bhakti, when we use the word anartha, the word anartha, if you consider in Hindi and in Sanskrit, it has slightly different meanings. Uh, in Hindi, we say anartha ho gaya hai. Anartha ho gaya hai matlab kya hai? Some bad happening. It's more like a external thing which is bad has happened to me. ये क्या अनर्थ हो गया? Hmm? So somebody loses their job, somebody gets into an accident. That we say is anartha. But in Sanskrit, anartha refers to, it's more like the bad force inside us. Hmm? So what are the anarthas? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are anarthas inside us. And then we could say that these two are related. It is quite often that the anartha inside leads us to anartha outside. Somebody is an alcoholic and they drink. That is, their drink is an anartha. And when they drink and drive, that leads to an anartha. So it's possible that both can happen. But the anartha, the way it is used in Sanskrit is that actually it is much more of the internal force that is there against us. So, in one sense, we could say that when we are growing spiritually, we in one sense, take Maya seriously. Take Maya seriously means that we consider Maya to be powerful and the forces of illusion are dangerous. Or we may take it casually. And similarly, we may take Krishna seriously or we may take Krishna casually. Now, if we consider these four options that might be there, now if we take neither Maya seriously nor Krishna seriously, now we may not take Maya seriously, but Maya will take us seriously. In fact, you can say the less we take Maya seriously, the more Maya will take us seriously. Isn't it? We'll be caught by Maya. So this is actually we will be doomed. Mm. It's a person has got some terrible disease like cancer. They're not taking the disease seriously, and they're not taking the treatment also seriously. Mm. And all that will happen, they will become serious. Their condition will become serious. They'll become critically sick. So many people they live in this condition. Now, of course, not everybody is say, a potential alcoholic or a potential violent person because of anger. Everybody is anarthas, and the extent of the anarthas may vary depending on the kind of samskaras they have from this life's upbringing, from previous lives, previous lives impressions that they carry. So some people might be more or less they grew up in a sattvic environment. So they may not have many big anarthas in their life. But when we it can range from being we will be underproductive. So even a person sattvic, they may not have major anarthas, but still their mind also wanders, their mind also goes here and there, their mind also works against them. So they will not be as good as they could be. Or at the worst level, whatever happens is our actions can be counterproductive. So underproductive means not as good as we can be. Counterproductive means the opposite of what we want to be. So doom does not mean a person is ruined completely, destroyed. It could just be that some people just don't fulfill their potentials. Like some players, sports players may be very talented, but they are very temperamental also. They get angry and they throw tantrums. And then what happens? They literally can't function very well. So when Sachin Tendulkar rose to the international scene, he was from Mumbai at that time. There's another player who also rose to the international scene, Vinod Kamble. And both of them were sensationally talented. And they took the cricketing world by storm at that. And people thought both of them would be the next big thing for Indian cricket. Now, Tendulkar went on to spectacular heights, but Kamble, after his rise was like a meteor. He rose for some time and he fell. And recently, about a couple of months ago, he was in the news. He had applied to, he was living in great poverty now, and applied to BCSCI for some pension. And what had happened was the various, we don't want to blame him, but basically, fame went to his head and he got into alcoholism and things like that. And his performance went down, and he was no longer in the national cricket international team, and he was not even the national local team, and just degenerated. So he had talent, but unfortunately, he did not have the temperament to go with the talent. So basically, we may not be able to do justice to our talents. So this is where if we take neither Maya seriously nor Krishna seriously, then Aghayur Indriyaramu Mogham Partha Sajivati. Krishna talks about this possibility in 316 in the Bhagavad Gita, that evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati haya aghayur indriyaramo mogham partha sajivati. Such person lives mogham. They don't really utilize the potential of their life. They're wasting their life. Somebody says that, okay, I'm watching TV. Instead of studying, I'm watching TV. Okay, wasting your time. No, but I'm watching Discovery Channel. Okay. Maybe that's useful. That's better than watching some just obscene movies or something like that. But still, watching Discovery Channel is not going to give you a bright career. Unless, of course, you do something more than watch. You want to become a content producer or something like that. That's a different thing. But otherwise, just possible. There could be a sattvic entertainment. There could be rajasic entertainment. There could be tamasic entertainment. But entertainment is meant to be a break from life. Entertainment is not meant to break our life. So if somebody is compulsively caught in that kind of entertainment, and still they are being underproductive. So that is when somebody takes now, if somebody takes Krishna serious, neither Krishna nor Maya serious. Now, if somebody takes Maya seriously but takes Krishna casually, then they will live very fearful. They don't really consider that there is some higher power, God, who can protect me. But there seems to be some higher power that will destroy me. It's not a very conducive way to live. Even from the perspective of emotional and psychological health. If a person is living constantly in fear, that is not healthy. So this is where in some traditions where the positive alternative is not offered, where only the idea of a personal divinity who can intervene and uplift us with mercy, that is not there in some spiritual traditions, then there is constant fear. Oh, this is Maya, that is Maya, that is Maya. So it's almost like people, they don't have Krishna to be conscious of, so they are conscious of Maya. Not in the way in the sense that they're chasing after Maya, but they are always afraid that Maya is chasing me. Now that is not a very healthy way to live. Now, if you consider somebody takes Krishna seriously, but not Maya seriously. Now, what does that mean? Maybe because of their culture, their upbringing, they practice Bhakti. Now, at that time, they are very diligent in their practice of Bhakti. But they may not take temptation very seriously. Then what is happening? They may become reckless. That means, okay, reckless means what? Yeah, I am so pure that nothing can happen to me. So, now, is it possible that somebody can be so pure? Maybe it's possible. But what if that is not the reality? It's that somebody says, I have so much immunity that no germs can infect me. Now, maybe you have that, but maybe not, isn't it? We don't know how strong our immunity is and how strong the germs attacking us are, isn't it? So we will be vulnerable. So a person could be safe. Now, of course, we could say there are very exalted pure devotees who have transcended completely all temptation. And kama krodha vimuktana yatinam yata chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate vidatmana. Later on this fifth chapter, Krishna talks about that state where kama krodha vimuktana. A person is completely free from those things. 526 he talks about it. So we could say that somebody might be transcendental. But this is a rare situation. More often is that a person will be reckless. And if they are reckless, then they come to Maya again. They will fall to temptation. Daivi Ishagmai Maya Duratyaya. So it's extremely powerful. Krishna talks about this as, if you consider Yatato Yapi Kaunteya Purushasya Vipachita, or later on, Indriyana Micharata Yanmano Anuvidhiyate. Tadasya Harati Prajna. If somebody is in a boat and that person is careless and they don't notice that a storm is coming. And when the storm comes, they may be expert boatmen, but storm will just sweep them away. So like that, we can't be reckless. Indriyana Micharata. So then 7.14 is what the verse we quoted. Mama Maya Duratyaya. That we understand we take Maya seriously, but also Mahameva ye prapadyante Maya me tarante. We take Krishna also seriously. And we understand that Krishna's power is greater than Maya's power. So this is where we can be safe, and not just safe, we can be actually maximally productive. Because when we take Maya seriously, we avoid the self-destroying forces within us. At the same Krishna, so we are able to do sources Krishna has given us constructively. And this is where, as devotee, Krishna, we take Maya seriously, but we also take Krishna seriously. Without taking both seriously, we will not be able to function. So now, I discussed this particular verse that we discussed the verse that understand that Krishna is not impelling us to do bad things. It is our own ajnana. Ajnana means here that the anarthas are there, here this kama krodha is there, and I am not aware of this kama krodha, or I am not aware of their power. And so, tena muhyanti jantavaha. By them, we are impelled. By them, we are impelled to do wrong. Now, Krishna says in the next verse that if we understand the philosophy properly, then all this will become clear for us. So let's look at this verse. That ajnana which is there. The ajnana can be that either I am in control or the devil is in control. And I'm doomed because of that. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam. That ajnana can be removed by yesha nashitam. Nashitam is destroyed. Atmana is for the self, for the soul. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam. Yesham nashitam atmanaha. And when that knowledge is ignorance is destroyed, then it is not just like small candlelight. It is what comes up is Tesham Aditya Vajnanam. Aditya is the sun. If the sun illuminates, and everything becomes clear. Tesham Aditya Vajnanam. That everything becomes clear. Prakashayati Tat Param. That Param can refer to the supreme reality. It can refer to the Atma is transcendent to the body, mind, and senses. It can also refer to God, who is ultimately transcendent to everything in this world. So first, we need to see that there are powers inside me that work against me. But after that, we see that there is Krishna, who is even more powerful. तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. So let's recite this once more together now. So prakasheti tatparam. For us, jnana, the purpose of knowledge is not just to learn this shloka or to impress these people by this knowledge or just to get this concept. All those are good things. But for us, the ultimate purpose of jnana, hmm, the purpose of jnana is to ultimately convince us that Krishna is on my side. That Krishna is on my side. That Krishna wants that there is a God, first of all, and that God is on my side. And then that jnana will lead to bhakti. And what is that bhakti meaning? Is I want to be on Krishna's side. So Krishna is on my side, but I want to be on Krishna's side. Now Krishna may want the best for us, but God helps those who help themselves. Now we should at least seek Krishna's help. We should want Krishna's help. Krishna respects our free will, so he won't force himself on us. So that prakashati tatparam means I understand actually Krishna is my well-wisher. Krishna is not just up there passively waiting for me to come to him. No, Krishna is with me, within me. Krishna is on my side. So generally, jnana on the path of bhakti is not just philosophical knowledge for the sake of intellectual stimulation. Yeah, I got this, I got that. That's good if you get intellectual stimulation. But for us, what jnana is not just for intellectual stimulation. Like you get what you call as aha moments. Hey, that's great, I got it. Eureka. Oh, that's good, that's wonderful. But that's not the primary purpose. It's it. Not that it's wrong, but that's not the primary purpose. For us, the primary purpose is not intellectual stimulation, it is devotional dedication. That Krishna, once I understand through jnana that Krishna is my well-wisher, then I want to devote myself to Krishna. I want to be with Krishna. So the first verse, we'll listen these three verses here. 5:15 started with the point that don't blame God. Understand that there is ignorance, there is Maya, which is against us. But then understand that above Maya is Krishna. And then the next verse, which is the last verse we'll discuss, 5:17, is how to dedicate ourselves. That once I understand that Krishna is on my side, how do I actually get on Krishna's side? Let's look at that verse now. So this verse talks about broadly our consciousness, our heart, which is expressed by consciousness. It goes along 4 lanes, and we can direct all those 4 lanes towards Krishna. Let's see if this is my consciousness. So our consciousness is like a flashlight. If I have this flashlight, in this particular case, the stream is coming out from this particular source, the light source, and from here, the stream is coming out. Now, the stream is going in one direction, but sometimes you have this some kind of grid or something over here, then the rays get diffused. So some light is going here, some light is going here, some light is going here, some light is going here. So like that, at present, our consciousness, it gets diffused and diffracted. So now, how does this happen? There are 4 lanes along which the consciousness may get, consider this to be my consciousness, the buddhi, that is the rational or the intellectual lane. That, so that was talked about this one, tad buddhayas, then tad atmanas. Hmm. There is the emotional lane, the mind, the atma here refers to the mind. So in our head, our intellectual side wants us to do one thing, our emotional side wants us to do something else. Hmm. So our consciousness often gets dissipated between these two things. Hmm. So maybe we could say 25% is going here, 25% is going here. Tad buddhe sadatmanas, tad nishthas. Now after that, nishtha is faith or allegiance. It's like I have faith in this particular person, I have faith in this particular process, but I'm not able to focus on it. So maybe 25% is going here, our allegiance. Allegiance is when one says a loyalty or our faith, our dedication. And then last is that parayana, our love. What is it that we truly love? Now, when I'm talking about emotions and love, is there a difference? Because love is also an emotion, but I'm talking about love as a more enduring emotion. It's much more lasting. Emotions come and go. Sometimes I like something, sometimes I don't like something. But now what I love, it is much more enduring. So these are four lanes around which our consciousness goes. So now these four can be going in four different directions. But when we practice bhakti, what happens is, if this is my consciousness, this is my consciousness, and say this is Krishna, then we want that all these lanes, the rational lane, the emotional lane, the lane of our allegiance, and the lane of our love, all these go towards Krishna. So Krishna, our Krishna bhakti becomes really strong. So rationality, emotionality, allegiance, and love. So that is what Krishna is talking about in this next verse. That if we do this, then he says that we will be on the path to liberation. We will be free from this self-destructive force that is there inside us. Let's look at this verse now. With this understanding, with this understanding of what this verse is actually telling. Now let's look at, see this verse. So Krishna is saying that is that ultimate reality. Prakashati Tatparam was there in the previous verse. So that ultimate reality, that divinity. So that which is ultimately Krishna, Tat Buddhayas. So with our intelligence, we understand this is what is of ultimate value. This is what is most important. Then Tat Atmanas. That Atma here refers to the mind. That I also dedicate my mind to that ultimate reality. With my intelligence, understand is important, then I focus my mind on it. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas. Then tad nishthas. That my faith, my loyalty, my allegiance. Yeah, this is where, if I want to be counted among some group of people, some cause, I want to be counted for this cause. Tad nishthas. And then ultimately, tat parayana. That is where I don't just want to be counted among this. I want to belong to this forever. This is where I want to go. Tat parayana. This is my ultimate goal. So tad nishthas tat parayana. If we do these things, then what will happen is Gachanti. Gachanti is what? We will move forward, move, progress. Gachanti. Apunar avrittim. Avritti means to come back. Apunar avritti means to never come back. Gachanti apunar avritti. We'll come back. And how will we come back? Gachanti apunar avrittim. Jnana is knowledge. Previous verse also talked about Jnanin Sadjnanam. Agyan will be destroyed, just like the sun destroys darkness. Similarly, here it says Jnana Nirdhu. So, washed away, cleansed. Dona Nirdhu, completely cleansed. Kalmasha. The impurities that are there, they'll be completely cleansed from us. Jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. So let's recite it together, na? Tadbuddhaya manas tadnishta satparayana Chaitanya Charan. So, in one sense, for all of us, when we try to direct our consciousness toward Krishna, so in general, the absorption in Krishna, the first step is like we're talking about dedication to Krishna. Once I understand that Krishna is on my side, I want to be on Krishna's side. So the first step in this is the intelligence. It is with our buddhi that we understand that actually Krishna is on my side. Krishna is my well-wisher. That's where we study scripture. That's where we associate with saintly people and hear from them. And then this is here. It's not just a call for faith. It is a rational understanding. That what is the rational understanding over here? That actually my very existence depends on so many factors that are beyond my control. When I fall sick, I feel bad. Why have I fallen sick? But actually, there are that all the time that I'm healthy, there are so many things that are working right, and I'm not even aware of how they work right. So who is making them work right? I can look at the few occasions when things are not working right and say, there is no God, there is nobody in charge. Or I can look at where things are working right. I can say, yeah, maybe there are things there is something which is in control and which is working for me, in favor for me. Say, if somebody goes to a mansion and say that mansion has 1,000 rooms, and out of 1,000 rooms, 999 rooms are perfectly clean and tidy, and one is totally a mess. Now, if I'm here, I can look at these 999 rooms. I can focus on that. Or I can focus on this room. If I look at these rooms, I can say there is a caretaker. There's a caretaker who's keeping this room right. Or I look at this room and I can consider there's no caretaker. Now, you could say both inferences are reasonable. But we have to see where is the evidence prominently pointing to. So in this world, if somebody wants to believe that there is no God, there is evidence even in the Mahabharata. On the 13th day, the Kauravas conspired to kill Abhimanyu. And they thought this was a great victory. But the next day, Arjuna decided, I'll kill Jayadratha. And Duryodhana thought this will also be my victory. Because I'll stop Arjuna from teaching Jayadratha and Arjuna will die. And the war will end. But then on that one day, Arjuna fought like never before. He just destroyed every single warrior that came in front of him. And Arjuna was like unstoppable hurricane on that. The word hurricane, means Hari's cage. So it comes with such force. Yes, unstoppable. What's happening? And on that, following Arjuna, Bhima came to support him, and Bhima killed 25 of Duryodhana's brothers. And then Duryodhana this on his child with his head in his hands. What happened? See, Duryodhana had a very complex relationship with Bhishma. Bhishma never lost hope on Duryodhana. And that's why Bhishma always kept giving him advice. And Duryodhana was never really hostile to Bhishma. Although he knew that Bhishma was not fully on my side, he also never thought Bhishma was against me. So when Bhishma fell, Duryodhana also cried that time. But the thing is, Bhishma had repeatedly told him, he had asked, how is it that I have better warriors than them? I have more number of our warriors than them. Why is it that I'm still losing? So Bhishma had told him There was not, and there will never be any army that can win if Krishna is on the opposite side. He told him about how Krishna is divine. Now, Arjuna and Duryodhana had never taken it serious. Even when Krishna showed the Virata Roop, Duryodhana saw it himself. But what was his explanation? He said, Krishna, we lived as a cowherd boy. He had no work to do. I was a prince. I had royal responsibilities. He had no work to do. So as a time pass, he learned some mystic power that he showed some magical form. So he said, if I had idle time like him, I would have shown a bigger form. So he just did not accept him. Even when Krishna showed it. But on this day, when Arjuna was just like an unstoppable tornado, tearing through his forces, he started remembering Bhishma's words. Maybe Krishna is really God. And if Krishna is God, then what hope is there for me? Krishna says, Mattaha Smritir Jnanam Apohanam. Krishna gives us remembrance and forgetfulness according to our desires. So his desire to hold on to the kingdom and to fight against the Pandavas was so strong that although these words of Bhishma came into his mind, but another thing came into his mind. He said, if Krishna is God and Krishna loves, and I was able to kill Abhimanyu, and because I was able to kill Abhimanyu, therefore Krishna is not God. And he said, come on, keep fighting. So, like that, if somebody wants, there will always be evidence in this world to reject God. If we look at how rains occur, now clouds are a majestic, magnificent arrangement by which water is transported from the oceans and it is brought to the land masses and it's short out. It's like we have sometimes when there is a shortage of water, we have to have water tanks which transport water. You may know that recently in Los Angeles, there was a severe set of fires and there was a severe water shortage. So they had to desperately transport water from other places. So now, the clouds are like a mobile airborne water tank, which is made of aircraft-proof technology. Even the Twin Towers were not able to have that kind of technology. So now, this is so amazing. You cannot but say that there must be some divine arrangement behind this. But an atheist will say that if God made clouds to give us rains, then why do the clouds rain on the ocean? The answer is so that you can ask this question and stay atheist. So Krishna will see Krishna. The case for God's existence is a reasonable case, but it is not an irrefutable case. And that is Krishna's arrangement. So, like there are 999 rooms which are clean and tidy. There is so much evidence of design, of order. Now, there is some evidence of disorder. Now, we can either choose to focus on the evidence of disorder or we can choose to focus on the evidence of order. That choice is always up to us. And now we can rationally use our intelligence to say that there is order over here. I was in America, in a university, I was giving a talk, and one boy asked, I'm an atheist, he said that. And I asked him, what prompted you towards atheism? So he said that, why do bad things happen to good people? So then I told him, why should bad things not happen to good people? What do you mean? Good things should happen to good people, bad things should happen to bad people. He said, if there is no God, then who decided this? I said, if there is no organizing principle, then anything can happen to anyone. So, the question itself has a foundation that implies the existence of a divine order. it is normally that good things do happen to good people. Isn't it? If we eat healthy food, our health stays good. It is possible that somebody says eats healthy food and still they might get some cancer or something like that. But does that mean doctors say there's no use eating healthy food is food? No. There is in and those exceptions require an explanation. But the exceptions don't disprove the rule. So this is an exception. There is one place where there is a mess. One room is a mess. Now the exception, it requires explanation. That is definitely there. But the explanation, it doesn't, does it implies that, does it implies disorder or non-existence of order? No. So yes, we can see there is order. Now we can go into philosophy and understand how karma acts over long periods of time. And that's why sometimes we may do something good and still bad may happen to us. But that does not mean God is against us or there is no God. Because we will see that there are times in our life when things work in our favor also. Sometimes what happens is I may do work worth 100 and I may get result worth only 10. That means sometimes we are working in a project, we do most of the work, but when the project is complete, the credit is given, we just even mention as one footnote over there. We feel I don't get enough credit. Now that is true, but if we are honest, we'll also notice that there are times when we do work worth only 10 and we get result worth 100. Maybe we join the project when it is near the concluding stage. And the project becomes a spectacular success. And we are honored, oh, you are a part of the winning team. So there was one cricket player when India had won the World Cup. He didn't play a single match. And still his photos that all the World Cup winning team photos. So he didn't do anything. So generally we tend to remember the times when we get less than what we deserve. But there are times when we also get more than what we deserve. Most of you know that I need crutches for walking. So when I was 1, I got polio. My mother took me to a polio, to a physician to give a polio vaccine. But the power supply in that particular fridge where the vaccine had been kept had gone off the previous night. And we were in a small town, so the physician didn't notice that, and he gave me that vaccine. And because of that power supply not being there, the viruses had multiplied. And so preventing the polio, the vaccine ended up causing polio to me. So now I don't remember that. I was just learning to walk and I fell and I could never walk after that. But my first memory of that is when I was about 2.5 or 3, some distant relative had come to meet us and she was consoling my mother. She said that, it's so sad that your son has got polio. And I remember my mother's voice, very calm, clear, confident. She says, whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually. Now, I don't know why my mother said that, but somehow that stayed with me. And at that time, initially, I don't focus on the God part. I focus more on the intellectual part. So, as I grew up, I realized that I just couldn't play outdoor games like other kids could. But then I noticed when I started reading, I could just read things very fast. I could remember things quickly. I could grasp and articulate them well. So somewhere at the back of my mind, it settled. And yeah, I could say it's unfair that I have this physical disability. I didn't do anything to deserve it. But then I didn't do anything to earn or deserve this intellectual ability also. So in one sense, life is unfair. There's no doubt about it. But in the big picture, life is fairly unfair. Fairly unfair means sometimes we get more than what we deserve, and sometimes we get less than what we deserve. So this is where we feel it's unfair. But here it's more than fair. So again, it's a question of, it's a choice of what we will focus on. Will we focus on the unfair part? We'll focus on the fair part. So that's why now with our intelligence, we can make this decision that there is a reasonable case to be made that there is a divinity that maintains order, and sometimes there is disorder. We could go into questions of explanation of past karma. It is there. So the basic explanation is that sometimes our past karma comes as, in this case, minus 90. And because of that, what I get is less than what I deserve right now, what I have done right now. But similarly, the past karma being plus 90 at times. That's why I do little also I get more after that also. So either way, Tad Buddha, yes, with our intelligence, we understand that it's worthwhile. He's considering that God may be on my side. And then what do I do after that? So with our intelligence, when we understand, then Tad Buddhayas, Tad Atmanas. So rationally, we choose maybe God is on my side. Then what do I do? At an emotional level, we try to fix our mind on Krishna. So we're talking about this lane of our consciousness. If this is my consciousness and this is Krishna, then first lane that we direct towards Krishna is the rational lane. It is buddhi. Bhakti, generally serious bhakti has to begin with buddhi. Without buddhi. Evam buddhe param buddhva. I said earlier in 343 in the Bhagavad Gita. Then after that, we direct our mind towards Krishna. Okay, let me try this out. Let me try out this chanting. Let me try out participating in the kirtan. Let me try out doing some puja. Let me try out doing some practices of bhakti. So then, this is our mind may not want to focus at these times, but using our intelligence, we focus our mind. So there is a difference between concentration and absorption. Or now concentration means what happens is that this is my mind and I bring Krishna into my mind and I focus on Krishna. So right now, there are many things in this room. You could be looking at the pictures. You could be thinking that I'm sitting on the floor. It's uncomfortable. Your belly might be feeling hungry, and there's so many sensations. But you choose. Okay, I want to hear this. That's concentration. So concentration means that Krishna is one stimuli. Concentration means we give entrance to Krishna. We concentrate. There could be so many things in our consciousness, but we choose to focus on Krishna. So actually, you could say this is attention. Attention is the first thing we give entrance. But after entrance, there is Krishna big in our consciousness. Now another word for absorption is immersion. Now at this stage, what happens is we realize that actually Krishna is far bigger than me, and it is our mind that gets sheltered in Krishna. It is not that we give entrance, it is we gain entrance. It is sometimes when we are immersed in some deep chanting, deep prayer, or very ecstatic kirtans, then we feel as if geographically are not that place at all. We're somewhere else only. They got transported somewhere else. So in one sense, tad atmanas. So it is that our buddhi, we give attention. So attention means Krishna is one stimulus in our consciousness. But at one stimulus we give attention, it starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And Krishna doesn't just become big enough to fill our consciousness. Krishna becomes bigger than our consciousness. And then our consciousness becomes immersed in Krishna. And this is where, actually, at an emotional level, when this entrance comes, at a very basic level, we experience relief. We experience peace. And then beyond that, we start experiencing joy. So both of these, experiencing ourselves being peaceful and being joyful, both of these are very powerful and transformative experiences. So once we get these experiences, then the result of that is that buddhayas tanat atmanas. This makes sense to me, but it also feels good to me. I have experienced it. It's like, okay, this doctor, whatever treatment is saying, that makes sense. But after that, I've seen this doctor's treatment works for me. Then after that, so this is where the second lane gets directed. That's the emotional lane, where it feels good. Now it may not feel good all the time, but there are times when it doesn't feel good. Then say we take a treatment from a doctor and we start feeling better. Then even if say doctor says it's a chronic disease, it's going to take some time to recover. Hmm? But it takes time to recover. Say, okay, I'm going to stick with this doctor. That is where our allegiance comes in. That Buddha sadatmanas tan nishthas. So this word nishtha is different from the word shraddha. Shraddha is like an initial faith. In the Shraddha is, it's almost like a favorable curiosity. Let me try this out. But Nishtha is more like personal conviction. Yeah, this works. This works. And it's worth trying. I'm going to stick to this. So even if it doesn't feel good all the time, it is actually good for me. So Tanishthas. Even at this stage, if we come, this is the stage where even if things don't feel good, we will pursue it. And it is not just based on my intellectual conviction, I have to do this. It is something more than that. It's our realization. This has worked for me. This will work for me. I just need to be patient. And this is a place where a person becomes very strong in their bhakti. They become unshakable. So the scriptures give the example. This is where we become like initially our bhakti like a banana tree. You can be shaken by any wind. But then it becomes like a banyan tree, not shakeable. And then finally, somebody may trust their doctor very much. This is the doctor I go to. But most people don't allow their doctor unless they want to get married to their doctor. It's a different situation. But most people, Krishna as a doctor is one thing. But beyond that, Tatparayana. Krishna is not just going to cure me of what is afflicting me so that I can just go on with my life. No, Krishna is the goal of my life. That it is, I don't remember Krishna so that I can stay free from Maya. I remember Krishna because he is the source of the greatest joy. There's a difference. Initially, I may remember Krishna because there's some external problem and Krishna will solve the problem. And similarly, I may remember Krishna because, otherwise I get into trouble. That's a good thing, but that's still something beyond. It's not that Krishna, we are loving Krishna for Krishna's sake. So Tatparayana means that Krishna, it is not just that you will give me a better life in this world. Remembering me will give me a better life in this world. Actually, you are the way to a better life. So it's like, here, if I consider, say, this is the material world, and we are going on our path. Now, remember I talked initially that we can be underproductive or counterproductive. So we have some destination over here that we want. Now, okay, I want to be a famous scientist. I want to be an award-winning researcher. I want to be a billionaire, whatever. We may have certain goals. And for pursuing those goals, we seek Krishna. That is also good. Krishna says that's Sukrutina. Such people are also good people. Udaraha. But then what happens is we understand that Krishna is up here. But it is that we are seeking Krishna. Yes, I want the goal in this world, but I want Krishna as my ultimate goal. And Krishna is such an important goal that even if I don't get this, still I want to get Krishna. So we would prefer, this is what we prefer, but this is what also we are ready to accept. That means it's not that a devotee wants to necessarily, as a matter of principle, live without any of the good things in this world. A devotee gets wealth, a devotee gets fame, a devotee gets power. A devotee can use it in Krishna's service for so much good in the world. Yudhishthir Maharaj wanted a kingdom because with that kingdom he could do so much good to the world. He wanted to perform the Rajasuya Yajna by which he could glorify Krishna. So seeking power or fame or wealth, they're not bad things in itself. But the problem is when they become what we seek as the supreme. Hmm? So this may be artha, but Krishna is paramartha, param artha. So we can seek artha, but our desire for artha should not be at the cost of paramartha. So if I get artha and paramartha, that is wonderful. But even if I don't get artha, still I want to make sure that I get paramartha. That if I get good things in the world, that's wonderful. Hmm. What is Krishna's plan? We don't know. Abhimanyu did not live to see the glory of the Pandavas, his father. Arjuna lived to see that glory. So Arjuna got artha and paramartha. Abhimanyu did not get artha, but Abhimanyu still got paramartha. But if we seek only this and nothing more, so artha, when we start taking artha, becomes our paramartha. Paramartha means my supreme goal. When artha becomes my paramartha, that itself is anartha. When money becomes the supreme goal of my life, then what happens is that will lead to greed, and that is an anartha. Making money is not bad. We all need to make money in life. Making money is important. That is artha. But what we are making with money is even more important. What are we using our money for? That is even more important. So basically, for a devotee, this gachanti apunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. This jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. The impurities become cleansed by the jnana that Krishna is providing. And what is that jnana? That means in my life, whether I get artha, and paramartha, we could say this is best. If I get only paramartha, that is also good. Not everybody will necessarily become famous or popular or wealthy. But if I seek only artha, then that is something which we don't want. So we can move straight towards Krishna, because in our life, even in the devotee's life, even in the spiritual seeker's life, there will be duality. Duality means sometimes we will get artha, sometimes we will not get artha. Sometimes artha will come to us, sometimes artha will go away from us. It could be wealth, it could be popularity, it could be relationships, it could be faith, it could be health. These are dualities. So it's not that a devotee does not seek artha. It's not that a devotee does not value artha. But a devotee does not overvalue artha at the cost of parama. So even in a devotee's life, what happens is the dualities will keep coming. So duality means there is artha and there is no artha. Or rather, there is a lot of artha or little artha, you can say. Yeah, these dualities will be there. But what happens for a devotee? This graph is not just like this. This graph is like this. And what is happening is, through it all, the routine ups and downs of life are there. But through it, a devotee is moving towards Paramartha. So artha and no artha. That can happen for a devotee. Some projects that we take up, they'll be very successful. Some projects, they will not be successful. All that will happen for a devotee. But through it, we will be moving closer towards Krishna. Kachanti apunaravritti jnana nibhuta kalmasha. Being purified. But understand that jnana, that what is the kalmasha? The kalmasha is to think that artha is the paramartha. That what is valuable in this world is of permanent value, of supreme value. The devotee doesn't fall for that illusion. That's how a devotee can be steady in marching towards Krishna. I'll summarize what we discussed today. Our broad topic was today was about becoming dedicated, how to become dedicated in Bhakti or dedicated in Krishna. So I talked about this in three broad parts based on the three verses. course was based on 515. There we talked about how our understanding of who is in control, it evolved. First, I think self is in control. We discussed the SIP acronym, SIP. Self. Then we start understanding that there is some inimical force, something inside me. Maybe it is anger, maybe it is lust, maybe it is greed, maybe it is jealousy, maybe it is just the tendency to feel insecure and get depressed. Whatever it is, there's something inside me which seems to work against me, an inimical force is there. But then after that, we understand that there is a purifying divinity. And yes, when Maya is powerful, Krishna is even more powerful. So this is where we start becoming stable. Then we talked about this again in terms of the 4-quadrant graph. That we take Maya seriously, or we take Maya casually. And similarly, we can take Krishna seriously, or we can take Krishna casually. So if we take neither seriously, then we are doomed. Either we are underproductive or we are counterproductive. So we, if somebody by their past conditioning or past samskaras is in sattva guna, then they will be underproductive. Somebody is already rajoguna, tamoguna, they will be counterproductive. Now, here we're taking Maya seriously, but not Krishna seriously, will be hijacked and sabotaged and destroyed. Here, either somebody can transcendental, but most likely we will be reckless. And here will be safe and maximally productive. So that maximal productivity was what we talked about, Artha plus Paramartha. So that's what we, now in 516, we discussed about how that so that basically we understand that Krishna is on my side. And therefore, I want to be on Krishna's side. So in this connection, so I want to be on Krishna's side is actually described in 517. So Jnana has these two aspects. The Jnana which is in Bhakti, it has both these aspects to it. 1 and 2. So now Krishna is on my side. In this connection, we discussed how life is in the big picture. It is fairly unfair. We can either see that there are 999 rooms that are clean, or I can look at one room that is disordered. So it is up to me to look at this or to look at this. That is ultimately a rational choice is to be made. And that's what we discussed in the last part, that the 4 lanes by which our consciousness can go toward Krishna. So this is my consciousness and this is Krishna. So R was the rational lane. So with our buddhi, we understand that actually Krishna is on my side. It is a reasonable case to make. Not irrefutable, but it's a reasonable case to make. And then after that, E is emotional. So after that, we put our mind. We try to focus our mind on Krishna. And in this case, with respect to our mind, what happens is, initially, there is attention. So attention is basically about, we give entrance to Krishna. Like Krishna is just one, but from attention, we'll eventually come to absorption. So when we are absorbed, then what happens is, we gain entrance in Krishna. Like we understand that Krishna is the supreme reality. This is where we experience peace and joy. So it's like a medicine works for us. And after that, what happens is, the next lane is allegiance. Allegiance means I become committed. I become committed. This is where this works for me. So even if there are reasons it's not working for me, I am going to persevere in this. So at this stage of allegiance, we become committed. The Nishtha means, in one sense, devotion does not, at the level of allegiance, devotion does not depend on emotion. That there is some deeper conviction that comes beyond just the emotion of the moment. So now it's not just intelligence, it is a deeper conviction. It's more like a realized experiential conviction. This has worked for me, and therefore I'm going to do this. It will work for me in the future also. And the last part was the object of our love becomes Krishna. And this is where we discussed that for us, if we are living in this world, now we may have some goals in this world. That's fair enough to seek that goal. Nothing wrong with that. But then above or beyond this world is Krishna is the supreme goal. So we want that a devotee can get artha and paramartha both. And that is good. But even if they don't happen, then at least we will get the paramartha. What we don't want is if you only make this our goal, then that will become anartha. So for a devotee, that jnana nirdhuta kalmasha, that Krishna is on my side and Krishna can grant me artha sometimes, but the nature of the world is, although there is a duality, through the duality, what is happening? The devotee is moving upwards. So through the artha and anartha, or not no artha and artha, that will happen even for a devotee. Ups and downs will happen there, but then through it, the devotee is moving towards Krishna, who is the Paramartha. And in that way, each one of us can move closer to Krishna, and ultimately we can attain Krishna. And that is where Jnana Nirdhut Kalmasha. So let us pray to Krishna. My dear Lord, please let me take Maya seriously, and thereby seriously recognize my need. Let me give me faith, my dear Lord, you are on my side. And let that become my inspiration to always be on your side. And let me, using my intelligence, dedicate myself to you. Let my mind experience how it is in remembering you, I get the supreme peace and the supreme joy. Let me thereby become committed to you. And may you, my Lord, become the supreme love of my life. Whether I get artha or not, may I, my Lord, keep moving toward you, who are the paramartha of my life. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki Bhagavad Gita, the Prabhupada, Gaur Preman. Want to ask questions? Any questions or comments? Thank you.
My question is, what is difference between intellectual stimulus, or we can say experiment, or what we experience, what wisdom we got from experience, and difference between realization. Suppose we are
Realization is when our mind accepts it. Realization is that which is a reality, our mind accepts it as a reality. Intelligence accepting it also is good and it's necessary. But it's like sometimes our intelligence accepts something, but still our mind says, I still want it. Intelligence knows this is bad, but I still want it. So that means we have not yet really got a realization. So when our mind accepts, this is really not worth it, this is bad, that's when we gain realization. Realization is that which is a reality, our mind accepts it to be the reality.
suppose we learn some principles, suppose in Bhagavad Gita, and we got some experience. And we understand to that experience that principle. Like in other words, we can say the practical of that principle. So, and can we understand to that experience? So, can we say it is a realization?
Yeah, if you got accepted, it's a realization. Definitely. So it's basically like the doctor says this medicine is good. My intelligence understands the mechanism by which this medicine is going to work. That's good. But then after that, I see that it works. I had some stomach upset and my stomach is peaceful. So that's like a realization. So if you get the experience, then it is realization. That's why intelligence itself nourishing our intelligence or convincing our intelligence itself does not give us the experience. Because using the intelligence, when we follow the process, we go along and we get the experience. Say if somebody wants to go to Mahakumbh, intelligence says, hey, maybe so many people are going. It is scripture that talked about it. Maybe I should go as intelligence. But just thinking with the intelligence, getting convinced is not the same as actually going and taking a bath. So intelligence pushes us to get the experience. Yes, please.
Like after getting experience, you get experience that the process works, but how to stay consistently devoted to that process? Like we may get disaligned sometimes, so how to get consistently on that process?
Yeah, it's not like that. We may have one experience of how the process works, but then we have had millions of experiences of material creatures. So this one experience may not counter all of it. And that's why association is required. That's why over a period of time, a devotee needs to be able to take responsibilities in Krishna's service. So getting our own experience is good, but when we take up some responsibility, then that also brings a certain level of commitment. This is what I have told to do, I will do it. And it brings a certain level of intentionality to the process. The power of intention gets directed. So we need multiple things to push ourselves up. Like, you have seen the sport of wall climbing. So if you're climbing some wall, like I'm particularly here, now I have to go up. Sometimes the next wall is the next hold. It might be a nail or whatever. It's like a grip. The hole is right here. But then the next hole might be there. And I have to stretch myself. The next hole might be there. So like that, for us, when we want to move upwards, there are broadly different holes at different times. So sometimes our intelligence is convinced. That's why I do this. Sometimes it feels good to our mind. Now you could say if it feels good to our mind, that's like the easiest hold, right in front of us. If it feels good, then we can do it very easily. But that's not some of the nearest hold might not be there. Sometimes it's our responsibility. Mother who has a newborn baby, the baby is crying, the mother doesn't always feel like taking care of the baby. But it's a responsibility. That's like another hold. So a responsibility is more something like a person has grown up with a sense of this is what I am committed to do. A sense of responsibility also helps. Sometimes it may be that I don't really like to do this, but I like the person for whom I'm doing this, and to please that person, I will do it. So basically, in that sense, if you want to like climb up the wall, there are these four. You can say this wall is something like this. So you climb up the wall, then there are these different grips that we have. And we have to make sure that yena kena prakarena, when we say, some or the other grip has to be there for us to hold on to, by which we can keep moving ahead. So if I am here right now, so there are these four grips. One is our intelligence, our rational, our emotions. Then there's our responsibility, and then there are relationships. So generally, the two are external, you could say two are internal. So we have to find out some grip that we can hold on to. There's something which I hold on to, and from there I move onwards. Sometimes I may have to hold on to this grip, which is the furthest. I'm going to require some. So, if somebody is only doing something at a rational level, this intelligence is there. But then sometimes that force may not be enough. Even sometimes at the intellectual level, we are convinced about it, but sometimes something which just don't make sense to us. The philosophy can inspire us to turn toward Krishna, but the philosophy is not greater than Krishna. Sometimes, even through philosophy, there's something about Krishna that's achintya. Yes, please.
You told Bhakti has to be important. Yeah, Krishna is on my side, and I want to be in Krishna's side.
Yeah.
So regarding the Krishna side, you told about like it's really And we have told 10, 90, 10 examples. Can you elaborate more upon these two?
That Krishna is on my
I
side.
said it, I want to be Krishna.
So in one sense, Krishna is on my side is is what we learn through Shastra. Hmm? So, but then I want to be on Krishna's side. That is our commitment. That is our Sharanagati. That is our surrender. So, in one sense, through the whole Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna is, Surudam Sarvabhutanam. Krishna said to Arjuna, that what I'm seeking for you, what I want for you is the best for you. And then at the end is Sarvadharman Pratyamam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. That is, I want to be on Krishna's side. So, for us, when we hear certain pastimes, then through those we can see how even devotees go through difficulties, but eventually they are delivered. Eventually they are taken to a better place, the best place in fact. So then by that also you can say Krishna is the well-wisher of everyone. And Krishna is not just their well-wisher. Krishna doesn't say Surudam Sarva Bhaktana. It is Surudam Sarva Bhaktana. Even if somebody is not a devotee, Krishna cares for them also. Everybody is included in Krishna's circle of love. That's how that can inspire us to turn towards him. Last question before we stop. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes we might do we said we should not do mental speculation, but sometimes we do Krishna conscious mental speculation. That means in devotees, it may sometimes happen that based on the principle, based on the philosophy, whatever thing is happening, we may like try to derive things what Krishna's plan can be in my life in this situation, what Krishna can want me to do, what Maya what Maya's trick is, that we try to speculate. So it is good for us.
See, speculation is so dangerous that even Krishna will be put in danger if he speculates. No, it's not like that. If everything can be used in Krishna's service, even speculation can be used in Krishna's service. In other words, speculation generally has a negative connotation. But the more positive connotation, positive word would be inference. Based on this particular situation, I'm making some inference. Srila Prabhupada says in the Markine Bhagavad Dharma song that Ache kichu kartabe ei anumane nahi keno anibena ei ugrastha. That I'm making sanuman, my Lord. That when you have brought me here, you must have some purpose for me. Otherwise, why would you bring me over here? Prabhupada has come to America at the age of almost 70. And in many ways, Prabhupada faces a formidable task ahead of him. At the same time, the fact that Prabhupada has reached America itself is extraordinary. He didn't have money, somehow he got contact, somehow he was able to come on the Jaluta, he survived heart attacks. So he's thinking that Krishna, you have brought me this far. You have now brought me this far to abandon me. You have brought me this far, you must have some purpose for me. Now, what exactly is that purpose? There is, in Bhakti, there is a mysterious combination of certainty and uncertainty. So Prabhupada, for example, said both things. He said that there are temples and they're filled with devotees, only time is separating us. That's what Prabhupada said. But Prabhupada also said that when I came to America, landed on the American Boston Empire, I didn't know whether to turn left or right. So what does that mean? So, it's not that Prabhupada had a hotline to Krishna. Krishna was saying, this person not going to become a devotee. Don't spend time with this person. This person going to become a devotee. Spend more time with this person. No, not like that. Prabhupada is trying. Prabhupada is using his intelligence and trying different things. So if I am here, then in the path of bhakti, on one side, there is certainty. Certainty is what? That Krishna will protect. But the uncertainty for a devotee, the uncertainty is about when and how. So Prabhupada said that there are temples and they're filled with devotees, but only time is separating. Even Prabhupada didn't know whether the time was 1 year or 5 years or 10 years. Right? But Prabhupada had that faith that Krishna will protect, Krishna will deliver. So now, as devotees, we have to be able to accept that there will always be some element of uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, we try to use our intelligence to figure out what is going on. And using our intelligence, we try to understand, okay, I think this is the problem, and this could be the solution for this problem. So sometimes we say there are material problems, there are spiritual solutions. Well, actually, material problems require material solutions. You can have a spiritual consciousness while implementing those material solutions. Isn't it? It's like if I got a fracture, the fracture has to have a material solution to do a surgery. The material healing has to happen. Now we can be prayerful, and through the whole experience of fracture, we can come closer to Krishna. But so when Srila Prabhupada faced the challenge that, say, in India, the outreach was not successful. It's trying for many years. Now Prabhupada could have looked at it at various levels. Prabhupada's spiritual master had said that. So the example I'm giving is Anuman, or inference, or the speculation or the inference that we are doing. So we could say that what was the thing that Indian outreach was not successful. Prabhupada had got practically no success, although had been trying for almost 20, 40 years in India, various ways. 10 years, quite seriously, for 1965. But so now, the cause, what was it? Prabhupada could have looked at various causes. Now, Prabhupada at that time was preaching in English. Even now, the audience for Hindi outreach is much more than English outreach. So Prabhupada could have said, maybe I should start speaking in local languages. That could have been one cause Prabhupada could have thought. Prabhupada was speaking like largely philosophy. Prabhupada was not a kathakar so much. So Prabhupada said, maybe I should start telling katha. That will what like attract people. Prabhupada could have said that. Prabhupada could have had a more completely spiritual consciousness. Prabhupada could have said that his Guru Maharaj has said that if nobody comes for a class, then you should preach to the walls. Prabhupada could have said, maybe this is Krishna's plan for me that I should preach to the walls. Prabhupada could have accepted it as faith. But Prabhupada, in one sense, looked for a material cause. What is the material cause? He said that Indians are not interested in spirituality because they are infatuated by the West. Now, Indians not becoming interested in Krishna Bhakti is Maya. Indians being infatuated by the West is also Maya. So Prabhupada was using one Maya to counter another Maya. He said that I'll go to the West, and if Western people become inspired to practice Bhakti, and seeing them, Indians will also become inspired. So in one sense, Prabhupada found a material cause for his particular lack of success in India. Now, of course, you could say there's a spiritual rationale. Also, Prabhupada saw it that his spiritual master had told him to preach in English, and he told him to share the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu across the world, especially in the Western world. So that was also definitely there, no doubt. But the point is that now, was this the only cause for his lack of success in India? Maybe, maybe not. So we have to make inferences. And making inferences, the point is we should not become more attached to our inference than to Krishna. So this is my understanding. And with this understanding, now, okay, I'll change my focus. Instead of doing this, I'll do this. It's fair enough. But if our spiritual guides tell us to do something else, continue this, we need to continue that. But if with that understanding doesn't seem to be a understanding that this is what I'll continue to do no matter what happens. No, maybe I need to learn from others, need to explore. So it is not that when we use the word speculation, it has a negative connotation. It is generally the idea is that we are using our intelligence in a way that is taking us somewhere other than Krishna's words or Krishna's to Krishna. But if Krishna is here and I'm here, now I can use my buddhi to figure out that this is the path to Krishna for me from here. So this, by intelligence, I arrive at an inference, and that is good. But I may find that okay, maybe there's a huge obstacle over here. Then I need to be ready to okay. I come till here, but then I look for some other path. Mhm. So we need to be flexible. Then. So don't be attached to our inferences. We can have our inferences, but don't be attached to our inferences. Be open to what Krishna wants. And if our inferences can take us closer to Krishna, then the principle Anukulya Sankalpa Utikulya Varjana. That which is favorable, we accept it. That is unfavorable, we avoid it. Thank you very much.